Okay, Primary 7, this here is just going to be a little video demonstration of how I like to draw the apple core. Reason doing this is you'll be able to replay this as often as you want while you're drawing so that you can actually just keep referring back to my example rather than trying to remember everything I put in the board, because there's a good few steps when we're doing an observational drawing. So we've got our apple core picture and we have our drawing paper that we're going to use. So very important, you always must have your picture right next to you. This is what you're drawing. You have to be able to see it all the time. If it's hiding under the paper, then that's not going to be very helpful for us. There's a couple of things we're going to look at very first thing. We're not going to do all of the drawing in this apple. We're just going to do the very first stage, which is the line drawing. We're going to look at tone and texture later on, but we're only going to look at the drawing for now. Before we do draw though, there's one difference that we're going to do that we've not done before, and that is we're going to be scaling up the picture. This little photograph is half the size of this piece of paper here. So as you can see, the height side of my short side. So we're going to have to be scaling up the picture, which means we're going to be making it bigger, but we still want it all to stay in proportion. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some steps that are going to help us sketch and get things in the right place first. We're not going to be doing the full drawing to start with first. We're just going to be doing a little bit. So first things first, we're going to do the line drawing. Now, as we discussed in class, there is a line that we can use in the middle. Our apple is not symmetrical, but it's enough of a similar shape on either side that we can do. And remember, as I showed you, we are going to be giving ourselves a very light line down the middle, where we can use the edge of our table to help us get that straight edge. Look at how I'm holding my pencil. I'm not holding it like we're writing. We're holding it at the very end, and again, that eases the pressure off of the graphite there, which is really, really going to be useful for us. So I've got this light line down here. Now you can see how lightly I'm drawing. This is how light I want you to be as well. Nobody should be drawing this hard like we're writing. So holding your pencil is going to be very helpful. Next thing we're going to do on this line is we're going to say how high we want our apple to be. So we want to take up as much of the paper as possible. So I'm going to put a mark at the top of my paper here and at the bottom, not all the way to the bottom of the paper. I'm still giving myself a little bit of a gap, but that's going to be the height of the apple here that I want here. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to just start to plot our shapes. Now we did discuss the shapes that we could do in class. So we've got our oval at the top, an oval at the bottom, and a rectangle in the middle that we can use to get the general location of where our pieces are and where our general sizes are. To do that, I'm just going to take one shape at a time. I'm just going to start with this oval at the top. So I'm going to go from here to here for how far I think the stalk comes down. And I'm going to maybe guess maybe about here-ish. And again, this can always be something that is very easily adjusted later on. And I'm going to go, okay, how maybe far of a distance down do I think? And I'm just going to go on my line how far down I think it would go. And then I'm going to do the same at the bottom. Now again, this can all be adjusted later on. You're just giving it a go. Where do you roughly think it will go? And then we'll compare. I'm going to go back to the top and I'm going to go across my oval. So looking at my picture, I'm going to go, okay, imagine here's the centre line. How far over across now? I think it's quite a wide line. Again, you can lay your pencil down and actually have a good look at that. And if I look at the two sides, the side over here, we've got this really big arch. It comes over a slightly bit more than this side. So I'm going to make sure that I put that in there. So I'm going to put this way over here, and I'm maybe going to bring this one in just a smidge more. And then I've given myself 4 points for me to draw an oval. So now again, it's not perfect. We're just getting general size and location. And I'm going to do the same at the bottom. Now referring to my picture, if I look at the top and I take this corner all the way down here, you'll see it does not come in as narrowly as this point here. And same on the other side. If I take that pencil down, this oval is slightly smaller. So I'm going to make sure I do that in here. So I'm going to maybe come in slightly. I'm going to hover and measure down. I'm going to mark that point there. Again, all of this can be adjusted later on. I'm going to come in a little bit this side and measure down too. And I'm going to get that oval in there. Again, we're not looking for it looking like the apple core just now. And then I'm going to give myself my 2 lines here. So this is the general shape I currently have. And this is where, again, I start looking at my picture and go, okay, what do I need to adjust? Now, I can see right away, this is much wider in comparisons to the height that I have. So I certainly need to do a good bit of adjustment. I definitely need to bring this oval at the bottom out a bit more, because it's too long and skinny compared to the top up here. So I'm going to bring that out a bit, and I'm also going to bring out the top one wider too. I'm going to bring that out as well. And that way I can curve then this side in a bit more, and then this side. Now that to me is now starting to look a lot more accurate shape. We can see it's got that slightly wider center part of the core there. We've got a slightly wider shape and a taller shape up here. Now you'll keep adjusting just this shape just until you're happy with the general size of things going on. I still think I want to take this side out actually just a smidge wider. You'll also see I've not used a rubber yet. I'm using all of the lines on my paper to help me get the shape that I want. Now I'm not worrying about these being perfect ovals or perfect curves. I'm just again getting the shape. And that's how we do that first part. So have a go at that and see how we get on. Refer back to this as you go. So now you've got your shape. Now what we can do is we can start now working into this shape and adjusting it to get a little bit more of the actual shape that we want here. Okay, so first thing I've actually forgotten to do is I've actually forgotten to put my stock, which is going to be my first point I'm going to use for adjusting. So now I'm happy here. I'm going to go, okay, where's my stock? Now, if I'm looking here, I would say it's just on this little center line here, and I'm going to go for it being in about the middle of the stock here. So again, I'm going to use just a shape to start with. Now, it's not going straight up in the air like a lamppost. It's slightly tilted to the side. So I'm going to tuck that in. I'm going to take that right up to my top little mark there that I made earlier. So that's me now got my shape. I'm actually quite happy with that. I'm going to leave it as is. But now I'm going to adjust this rectangle to make it look more like here. So again, look at your shape, and if it helps you, actually follow around the line with your pencil. And as you can see, it comes out slightly wider as it comes to the top, and it looks like almost like the beginning of a love heart at the top and comes down. Kind of like a cartoon bone shape, I would say. So that's what I'm going to follow. So as I get to the top here, and I'm constantly looking at my picture, sometimes I use my finger to actually follow where I'm going. So I'm going to curve that round at the top, I'm going to let it dip in, curve around the side, and bring back in. Again, I've not used a rubber yet. Now I've brought that out too wide, so let's bring that in a smidge again. Coming back round, flowing it down. Still slightly too large. So I'm going to bring that round in here. Yeah, that's looking better now. Just take that slightly too wide out. I'm going to bring that in slightly here, like that. Okay, so that's me now got one leg on. You can see as I was happy with lines, I started to go just slightly darker over them. That's mostly so that you can see, but I want you to still keep it nice and light, because if we go around with a really harsh dark line, that's going to make our drawing look a little bit cartoony when we actually go to add the tones. So still keep your lines nice and light. If there's too many and there are ones that are confusing you, you can rub out the ones you don't really need anymore as you go, and just keep the lines that you're wanting to keep. But don't rub everything out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look at this curve here, because it follows quite nicely from just this point down here. So as we can see at the bottom of the curve here, we can curve over the top in sort of an umbrella shape. So I'm going to sketch that. And again, I'm sketching at this point. These are in no way final lines. These are all, and I'm going to actually bring that right down. These are again helping us get things in the right place. I'm looking at all these big lines first. Now this next one comes out almost like a straight gradient, like a hill, and then it kind of does a bump here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that down. So it goes right past the stock. I'm going to go up and then round. And as you can see, I'm using my oval to my advantage. I'm going right to the top of that oval, I'm going to bring it right down to the edge there. Again, I'm still doing this nice and lightly. Okay, and I've always got my picture next to me. I'm then going to work on this front section because I think that'll finish off the shape nicely. So I'm looking at any big points that change. For me, it's here and here. These curves are the points I'm drawing. So again, I'm going to use points. So I'm going to, okay, let's go for a point maybe here because it comes in just a bit into our flesh part, and over here it's kind of where it almost just joins. So I'm not looking for the texture part just yet. I'm just looking for where any of these are joining together. So I'm going to just take that over. Okay, now looking at my picture again, I'm actually going to put it below so I can see. I actually think this is over slightly too far. So I'm actually going to bring this down over here. And I'm going to bring that back round. And that is what we do. It's just a constant level of really checking between your photograph and your drawing and really looking and asking yourself that question. Is that as accurate as I can make it? And I can see I've got another little bump here and a much smaller one there. Okay, now I'm not going to add in any texture parts yet. I'm going to complete the whole skin of the apple first. So I'm going to come round, I'm going to look at this next little bump that I can see. Kind of feeds in, and then at the back, again, it's not a straight curve. I'm going to scoop that right round. And again, look how I'm using this oval to my advantage. It's not standard, it must not all fit inside here, but it's just kind of giving me a guide for the roundness that I'm trying to achieve. And then it kind of comes in a little dip here, comes round in a little bump, and then a bump again that joins up to there. Okay, all of this inside where we see all the curves going in, that's going to come in with tone when we do it. However, you can give yourself a couple of sort of wee guiding lines to start with, just to help that along there. Okay. Now I may come back and adjust this a bit later on. I'm going to look at the drawing as a whole before doing anything else. And actually I can already see this needs to curve up and bring that down more. Look how nice and curved it is. Look more like an umbrella. I've gone very flat there. Yes, I think that's much better. And that's the same process I'm going to go through. So I'm going to look at the sides of the apple. And actually I'm quite happy with the sides of the apple so far. I think I just need to bring this side just out so slightly. A little bit more. And then I'm going to come and adjust shape once I do the bottom. But overall, I'm quite happy with the shape of the middle so far. So now looking at the bottom, now I'm just going to move it. I'm just looking at the bottom. It's okay if you cover a little bit of your drawing up the top. So I'm going to start down here where I see like a big change in the bump. It's not one big smooth curve like this. It's got this bumpy shape like this kind of going through. Now your pictures that I've given you or that I will give you are yours to keep. So you can draw over the top of your picture, but just be careful. Use a pencil, please don't use a pen, okay? Because then you can always rub it out if you need to. And I'm going to start at this point here. So I'm going to start just by going for that little bump. I can see it curves in slightly. So I'm going to curve in, come out to join the bump at the side there. And I think that's looking pretty good. And then I can see it's got this little extra bump of skin on the outside here. And then as I come at the other side, this side almost straightens out. So I'm going to turn my page so I can get a better angle. And as you can see, as I've turned my page, the picture is turned with me. Always have the picture turned to the angle that you're drawing at. If you are going to turn the page, that will be more helpful. I'm just going to curve that round, and then let's have a little look side by side here. Not bad. I've still not taken this side out far enough. So I'm actually going to take that out and bring that in. So as you can see, I've been doing this a long time. I do always adjust, I change. You will not get that same line exactly first time round. It will take a little bit of time. And I think I need to soften this edge slightly. Overall, I'm quite happy with that. Excellent. And then I'm going to go for that little outside bit of skin. There's a very small sliver of edge here. And again, I'm constantly looking as I get down to this bump. I see there's a little bit extra. And then I'm going to turn that around. Bring that in. Okay. I'm starting to feel happy with this. I hope you're seeing in your drawing and in my drawing at this point how it's now gone from looking like, I would describe it as looking like one of those hand weights that you have in the gym, or anything like that, those little wrist ones. And it's now gone to starting to look more like our apple core, which is what we want. And our last bit we need to draw in is we just need to draw in this shape of the core. It is not a smooth curve. This has bite takens out of it. It has texture, and we want to show some of that. So again, as I go, I'm going to look for any kind of big bumps to start with. So I'm going to go for this bump on the side, right here. I might have brought that out a smidge too much. Let's put that in a wee bit more. As I come up, I can see another little bump here. Okay, then I'm going to bring that up. And then as I come down to the bottom, you can see it curves in and it's out again, just a smidge, comes back in. And again, I'm using that shape of the curve to help me plot this. And actually, I've not done that big enough, so this comes out a little bit more, comes back in, and then out and in again. So that's my side there, which leads into that bump, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So here, there's a very large bump right about there, I think. We'll see how this looks at the end. And then it kind of flattens out slightly. Oh no, it's got a small tiny bump as it comes up. And then curve around. It's got another little bump. And then smooths, and then it has another bump. Okay, actually again, as I'm looking at that, I need to bring this curve down just a smidge more. And actually, this now, I'm quite happy with that now. And then I could start adding in some of this texture that's on the skin. And again, that's going to change this shape slightly again. I think that now comes out slightly more here. There's a little bit more of the skin going off here. And remember what I said at the beginning of the lesson, the nice thing about using an organic object to draw rather than a bottle is because it's something that's grown, this has also been bitten and things, it's not perfect. It doesn't have little perfect lines and straight lines and things. It's very wibbly wobbly, so it's a very forgiving drawing. So if some of your little bite marks don't quite match up, that's okay. We're learning, this is part of the experience, but that is our line drawing, and that would be it complete. I'm still leaving it as its sketchy section, but this would be the point, is if you'd built up any lines anywhere, we would be able to start rubbing these out. So for me, I would probably just rub out mostly very lightly this little bit at the bottom. If you've drawn super duper lightly, you actually shouldn't need to rub out anything at all. And I'm maybe just going to rub out around these little bits here, just so I can get a nice clear view. And maybe just a smidge around the outside there, where I don't need these lines. So basically lines that might confuse you later on when you're doing the tone, I can take out very lightly a little bit of that there. There we go. There is my completed line drawing. So again, take your time with this. Look at the photograph. It's here to freeze so you can see my broken down line drawing. Take your time, refer back as you need to. I've obviously done this very quickly, but I've done this for a long time and I can do these quite quickly now to get a rough idea. I 100% could keep working on this and make it look better and better. That's why I want you to keep asking yourself, how can I make it? How can I make it more accurate? Good luck. And remember, I'm in the classroom. Ask questions. Okay? Let's go.